You're 20% quote unquote occupied. Take out your costs, $300,000 a year of profit.
This year, I was actually laid off from my job for 2 months. It was rough figuring out what I was going to do.
I post at least 3 ideas every single day. Of all the ones I post, why did this one stand out to you?
The barriers to entry seemed really low. I was able to do it with very little risk involved. When I ran the numbers, it was kind of one of those moments where if I even got to 50% capacity, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a home run. I've always had that bug, but I've always been too shy to pull the trigger, honestly. And I think a lot of your content in the group helped my confidence in those areas.
So about a year ago, I posted a short about a cafe in Dubai that also has a huge sandbox where they have remote controlled excavators, diggers, cranes, etc. That short got about 20 million views across platforms. And would you believe it? This guy named Tim in Erlanger, Kentucky, of all places, said, that's my business. He'd had a W-2 job his whole career, and he said, this is the business I'm going to start. So he spent a little bit of money. He bought a trailer, he bought some equipment, he bought some sand, and he posted up at fairs and festivals and started making thousands of dollars, charging $1 a minute to kids and grown-ups, almost all men, to play with these RC diggers, excavators. Now he's opening a full retail store doing the same thing, and he is crushing it. So, of course, I had to have Tim on the pod to tell us, how'd you do it? How are you making money? How can we copy you? Please enjoy. Tell me where you were at in your life when you first saw that video. Like, had you been exploring ideas? Were you content in your job or your business? Where were you at?
I've always had that bug, but I've always been, too shy to pull the trigger, honestly. And I think a lot of your content in the group helped my confidence in those areas, knowing that you had, real experience to lean on. Plus, I just really appreciated your attitude towards things, that not everything has to be a $1 billion idea, that you can stack smaller businesses and still get to the same goal. So my whole life, I've been in technology, I've been in IT and AV/IT my whole life, but I've always been an entrepreneur. So I run remodeling businesses and IT businesses, but I just didn't I wasn't into it. So, it always trailed off. My regular income always took care of all the bills. So I wasn't in any sort of rush, but I really fell in love with this idea. And we started taking it out to fairs and events and seeing kids' faces light up, and more importantly, I think fathers' faces lighting up and parents playing at the same time with their kids. A lot of kids had never used stuff like this before. They're used to their phones and tablets. So this year, I was actually laid off from my job. I've since gotten another job, so it's all good. But for 2 months there, it was rough figuring out what I was going to do, and so I was just leaning into a lot of things, including this. So.
Okay. So when you say you were always able to pay your bills, you had like other kind of side hustles and construction businesses on the side, but really you've had a W-2 most of your life, right?
My whole life, yeah.
Okay. And so you did when you started this, and then you got laid off, and now you have another W-2, but you're still doing this on the side, right?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
What of all the, I post at least 3 ideas every single day. Of all the ones I post, why did this one stand out to you?
The barriers to entry seemed really low. The risk seemed really low. The more I started playing with what it was going to take to put this together, I was able to do it with very little risk involved. I've basically paid off all of my investments to date, except for, recently, because we're opening a store. But until we started the store, I was already broke even on, we sold 1,700 sessions at $5 a session over the summer. And
Wow.
we booked 7 private parties at $3.99 for 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you also have like the cool factor on this idea? Like you were just like, this looks awesome. Like I would like to play this.
I think so. I missed the execution, to be honest with you, a little bit on how we built the trailer. The wall of the trailer was a little high. So the visual, people had to come over to it to look in to see what was going on. Had I made it lower, people just passing by would have seen more of what was going on, because we had a lot of up and down traffic, because if nobody was playing, people would just walk by. We haven't yet nailed how to get people to come over. And I think part of that was they couldn't see what was in the pit. It just looked like a trailer to them. And when you're at a fair or carnival, you kind of blend in with all the other trailers and businesses. It's orange, and we've got a big orange tent and a lot of signage and stuff like that. But it's new. Nobody knows what it is. A lot of people thought we were selling the machines. We kind of had to explain what was going on. Oh, there you go.
So is
there's
this
our trailer?
Yeah, this is your trailer that you were just referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're saying if the walls were a little lower, maybe closer to the level of the sand, then you would have gotten more like eyeball traffic.
Correct. I think so. I think it would have helped people see what was going on. We built it this high because not knowing what you don't know, I kind of assumed it was going to need to be deeper because you're digging in it. But the truth is, you don't really need it to be more than like a foot deep
Mhm.
of dirt. And then, the kids really like the 4x4 stuff. So we're splitting the store up into two zones. There'll be construction and the crawler space by itself. They don't work well together. But it works in this form. So you can see this is a trailer, just a standard utility trailer. On the back end, there's a gate. We have some signs hung on it, and then you can see we have a TV hung on it in portrait mode. I built some software around it to help us track the sessions because when we started fleshing out this idea, one of the first things that hit me was how do we manage it? How do you
Mhm.
manage sessions of kids and adults running up and you're handing them a remote and you got to track all this stuff. And we tossed around a lot of ideas, and then I built all this that you see here in Replit. I built all the tools we use in Replit. I built it with the idea that if it works, it's going to be franchisable. So all the
Mhm.
software can be, reset for somebody new and set up for you specifically. We built a trailer. We started hitting all the events. We started tracking sessions. It worked great. When we started, we were selling sessions for $5 for 10 minutes. Almost immediately, I realized the problem that the parents didn't want to stand around for 10 minutes. So it took a little convincing, but I convinced my wife that we needed to go to $5 for 5 minutes. We both thought it was too expensive, but it doubled our business.
Did any people get turned away from that? Like, did your conversion
Mhm.
rate suffer at all?
Yeah. Some people think it's too expensive, especially our
Yeah.
party rate. Some people think $3.99 for 2 hours is too expensive, but we've had plenty of people pay. And honestly, as a father of an 11-year-old, I know what a birthday party costs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's for 10 people for $3.99. It's not a bad deal. We actually just did a retirement party 2 weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. It was a bunch of
Hmm.
middle-aged guys and their dad.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So at 10 minutes, it was like the parents kinda got bored or restless, and
Mhm.
you just thought that was bad for business. And, I mean, you can only handle half as many people that way.
Right. You could do more sessions at 5 minutes. And in my area, the way we went after it this summer, I was competing with really tough dynamics, at least I think, right? Because a lot of my business came from the county fairs and things like that. And the county fairs around here generally cost about 15 to 20 bucks to get in. And then that includes all of your rides.
Mm.
So they literally just paid 15 or 20 bucks a head to get in. And the kids are passing us screaming, I want to play, I want to play. And, a lot of the parents were dragging the kids by, and then eventually they'd come back the other way. You'd see them come back when the kids won. Even at that, the people who were into it were into it. We had several groups of people who, because it's all local county fairs, they would be at other and they'd come back and, oh, I saw you at this county fair. I saw you that county fair. Even to this day, talking to people out in the public now that we're opening the store, you get a lot of, oh, I saw you guys at this fair. I saw you guys. So I think it worked well for our marketing perspective, and we're still going to do it. If you look on our website, we still have a lot of those events planned because the store opens in February.
How much does it cost to, like, be at the fair?
It's interesting. It's quite dynamic, at least around here. We paid as little as $100 for a week, and we paid as much as 550. I think was the most we paid for a week. And then there were some. We tried to get into a lot of like the bigger church carnivals around here, and man, you want to talk about them having them locked down and being a hustle to get into them. There's one school event around here that it's a whole thing just to even try to be considered to get into it. So the ones that
Okay.
have the crowds on lockdown charge a lot more. But most of
Is
the county ones, they're pretty reasonable.
so 100 to 500 for an entire week of being
hmm
there.
For a lot
Wow.
of them, a lot of faces, a lot of tight talk. I mean, we handed out probably 1,500, 2,000 stickers and magnets and all different kind of, because we played around all summer with different things to hand out to parents and kids. The kids loved the stickers we made. We made a bunch of stickers with our logo and website, and then my wife had a genius idea to make. We wanted to give like business card style things to hand out, but we made them in magnets so you could just put them on your
Mhm.
fridge. I'm sure people have done it before, but I just didn't think to do it.
No, it's smart.
So we hand those out. Those work well. And, we're just really excited to have the store opening up because I think having a store, we got two main questions at all the events this year. Where's your store and do you sell these things? So the store is going to answer both those questions.
Like sell the trailer, the whole kit?
No, the machines, the excavators,
Oh, the
front
RC
loaders,
stuff?
and things like that. Yeah, we gave a couple away. Those were pretty popular. We gave a couple away for marketing events and things like
Okay.
that.
Is there a correlation between the cost to be at an event and the potential success of the event?
Sometimes, but not always, because a lot of these county fairs, like any outdoor event, they're so dependent on the weather. And
Mhm.
during the summer, around us, we can get some rain. So it does change the size of the crowd. They're very much dependent on the size of the crowd. So they're charging you based on the numbers of people they saw last year, is
Okay.
basically how I understand it works.
Okay. Now, what was the worst event you ever did? How much, like, revenue did you do and profit?
Oh, the first one, the first fair we did on purpose, was a really small county fair, and I mean, we were, I think if we sold 10 sessions that whole week, it was a lot, and there was just a couple of kids. But even so, that was a huge learning experience.
Mhm.
We met a ton of other vendors at that event that were, in different aspects. We talked to everybody at every event because we've learned so much. So much so that we're opening a food truck this year to stack on top of it
I'm
because
gonna get to that. I'm
yeah,
very curious about that.
I did. Yeah. So yeah, I've learned a lot this year, and honestly, I'm just pushing hard. I'd like to get rid of the W-2 as soon as I can
Mhm.
because I learned a hard lesson this year when a company I worked for 13 years just went, yeah, sorry, we
Yeah.
don't have any money. It's a place to be.
So your first event, you lost money and you maybe made $50 in revenue, give or take.
Yeah, if
Okay.
I don't even count that because whatever I made that event, my daughter and her friends spent on food at the uh, at the event.
Not
So
cheap.
so it was
Okay.
it was it was all a loss.
What about what's an average event for you? Revenue and profit.
So our average events, once we got going, we were, and profit's hard because it's my wife and I running it, so we're not really spending any money to besides the cost of the
Sure.
event. And so most of our events, we paid for the event the first day, because most days we would, on a bad day, we would do 200 or 300 bucks a day. On our best day, we did $800. That was
Mm.
a crazy day. And then on our busiest day, we did a private event for Choice Hotels at a Bengals tailgate. I've never been so big. There were so many kids, and it was all free to them because it was an open event,
Mm.
and they had nothing else to do. And that was the first event that we actually ran through all of our batteries just as our time was almost up. So
Wow.
uh,
Perfect.
if we had given them an extra hour, we'd have been in trouble.
Yeah. So for that event, they just paid you to be there for free?
hmm
And what did
They
they pay
well,
you
they
again?
paid us. They paid us to be there, and then we offered it to the
Yeah,
guests for
right.
free. Yeah,
And what did they pay you?
that one was $4.99 because it was such an open public event.
And how long were you there for?
Total about 3 hours was set up.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And that one, that was just, we were at, there's a local pizza pub brewery kind of thing down the street from us, and they had a fall event we were at for 2 days. And the guy who runs Choice Hotels marketing came with his kids, and they played. And he's like, "Hey, we have this big tailgate. You guys should, we'd love to have you." And I was like, "Sure, great." That kind of stuff. You have those conversations all day. 2 days later, he's like, "Hey, what are you doing this Sunday?" So it went
That's
pretty
awesome.
fast on that one. But I suspect that one will be a repeating event because they had so many kids. It's a big family event that they have a big family tailgate for everybody.
Yeah. So I'm starting to run paid ads directly to my newsletter because right now it's where I'm seeing the most potential. Because here's the thing, social platforms don't let you own anything. The algorithm changes and your reach disappears. Email is the only channel where you actually own your audience. And Beehive is built for people who are ready to grow bigger than ever. It's got a built in ad network. Sponsors come to you directly through the platform. You approve, you get paid. You pay no platform fees on paid subscriptions, whereas Substack takes 10%. Beehive takes nothing. And now you can sell coaches and coaching directly to your list. You don't need to stitch 5 tools together. Beehive lets you do everything in one place, and you pay zero commission forever. Name another newsletter platform that can do all that. I've been on Beehive for over 2 years, and it is without a doubt one of the biggest reasons my newsletter is growing like wildfire. So go move your email list over to Beehive now and get 30% off your first 3 months at beehive.com/Chris. That's BEEHIIV.com/Chris. Now, your best fair ever, what was your revenue that week?
Probably 2,600 bucks in that neighborhood.
5
And
days?
that was Alexandria Fair. No, that one was 5 days through the
Okay.
weekend. And that one, I think that one was our biggest event, mostly because the crowd was just perfect for us. It was
Yeah.
in a really rural county, but this county drew an amazing crowd for their horse show. So you had a lot of people with disposable income who were there and kids who were bored. So at that show, we had a lot of parents who came up and were like, here's $20. He's going to be here for a minute, like that kind of thing.
20 minutes, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you
So
offer any discounts for more time?
we messed around with it. I have in session in the app where we sell sessions because it's on your phone. So someone comes up and I can just sell it to you right on my phone. I can do basically buy one, get or buy two, get one free. And so sometimes I'll ring people up like that. Like we've had some really great patrons who have spent a lot of
Mhm.
money session after session. And, I'll see them come up again and I'll just, say, give them a free session or, whatever,
Yeah.
just to but we don't actually publicize it yet. At the store, our pricing model is going to be completely different. It starts generally around the same. So we're going to do 15 minutes for $15. And then as you scale time, it gets significantly cheaper per minute. But
Okay.
we're also going to offer things like memberships and stuff like that so that someone who wants to come a lot.
Now, on your trailer, how many customers can you accommodate at the same time?
Ideally, around 10 is the max. So we have three excavators, two front loaders, I don't know what it's called, but a big tower crane is what I call it. So we have a big crane. And then I have like seven different RC trucks,
Okay.
Traxxas vehicles that we use. At 10, it starts to get too crazy in there because
Yeah.
most of that is the traffic, but they don't, you can run those things right into the excavator and they don't budge. The excavators are
Yeah.
full metal and pretty heavy.
And so you and your wife's job while there is you're swapping out batteries, you're answering questions, you're accepting payments, you're telling people their time's up. Is that about right?
Yeah, and flipping cars over a lot.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we have a little broomstick, and because it's like I said, it's not an ideal setup for both to be in there. So the main issue with that is the cars flip over a lot
Mhm.
because one, they're geared like normal cars, so they're a little fast to be in there.
Mhm.
So the kids love it. They're just like and they're running them over the mountain and just flipping them off things. So we spend a lot of time just setting them straight. But yeah, other than that, talking to people, answering questions, talking about birthday parties. A lot of people asked about parties. My wife Jen thinks this year our private party business is going to blow up because we were kind of into birthday party season already when we
Mhm.
started it. Nobody knew about us, and seems to be holding true because we've already booked a couple for this year. So
Yeah. Now, how do you keep track of their time? Like,
through the app.
how do
If you saw in that picture, that TV that's on there, so someone comes up and let's say Johnny wants to play, we get a name, and if they'll give it to us an email so that we track it, we keep their email for marketing, and then we put how long they're going to play, 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long they ask for.
Okay.
And then as soon as we sell it, it goes up on the monitor and it gives them about a 30-second buffer to get the remote and get set up. And
Mhm.
then there's a countdown timer that just says their name with their countdown. As it gets closer to the end of the time, it changes colors to warn them and it'll start
That's
to
cool.
flash. When it's done, it stays up there for a minute and says, your time's up. And what that has done for us is eliminate the vast majority of us having to tell kids because their parents do. Their
Yeah.
parents are like, hey, time's up, or you got a minute left. They're on top of it. So we don't have to be.
Is this the app that you built, with Replit?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you have no coding experience, and you built, like, the app that runs your entire business with just AI.
Correct. To be fair, I have some coding experience. I used to be a control system programmer. So with that came a lot of testing code experience. And I honestly think if you have QA coding experience, that kind of stuff, if you can talk to the computer the way you would someone who's coding, it does a
Mhm.
much better job. So I've had really good success with Replit. It blows my mind as someone who's been in technology my whole life. In just the 8 months or so, how much better Replit has gotten every time I use it.
Yeah. Let me go back to this. So,
Sure.
what percentage of your customers are, under 18, and what percentage of them are 30 to 70-year-old dudes?
It's a good mix of 50-50.
Hmm.
I was actually really blown away. It's funny at Boone County and a lot of the county fairs, they have the dirt tracks for different things. So they have guys there running these kind of machines. And so many of them at the end of their shift at the 9 o'clock at night when the fair is almost over would end up over at our booth paying us to run the machines with the remote controls. I'm like, you guys have been running these things all day, and they just love it. Because the control, that was one of the things I learned that was really neat about them. The controls are the same as a Caterpillar excavator or a Caterpillar front loader. So someone who runs these machines can come in, pick up the remote, and
Wow,
literally use it like an expert because it's exactly the same. And
that's
it also
amazing.
leans into training, kids on how to use these things.
So you're selling just as many of these packages to people like me as opposed to kids.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
I don't know if there's a good yeah. So if you open right under the Thanksgiving turkey picture, there's some picture of some kids standing there.
Mhm,
This was actually one of the problems. So I had to find a platform for the kids to stand on so they could see
mhm,
in the trailer. But you can see this is where the kids play for the most part. This
mhm.
whole other side here, where there isn't a platform, that's all adults. Almost, if you look at through my pictures, you'll almost always see adults standing in that area playing. It's just always so you can see them kind of in the background, see where they're just
Ye
standing there,
yeah.
getting ready to play or playing. And then you can
Mhm.
see the sessions in the back there. So you can see there are four
Oh, on the
sessions.
screen right here.
Yeah. So you can see there are four sessions
That
about
is
to
cool.
end and two sessions that are still active.
Oh, that is so
So it's
cool. That app would cost so much for to have developed. Like,
I say it all the time to people. I would not have been able to run it because
no.
managing the sessions is so important to what's going on here. The fact that we can do it so smoothly makes all the difference in the
Mhm.
world. This would be a nightmare to manage if I didn't have that. And we talked through all the ideas. We were going to use stopwatches and
Mhm.
we were going to mount the remotes to the trailer so they couldn't, like, we had all sorts of ideas. But this software solved it all. And I think it makes it more franchisable and marketable because it makes the business that much easier to run.
What were your opening costs for the trailer version of this? Your startup costs?
Right around 10, 11 grand.
It's not bad
Yeah.
at all,
And
including the
most of
trailer?
that, yeah, and most of that was the trailer. The trailer cost 6 grand of that was 6 grand of that, and that was mostly because my time I had to get, like, I think it might be my ADHD or whatever you wanna call it, but if I give myself an excuse, I'll find it, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, when we were committed to doing this, we started booking events before I had the trailer, before I knew what it was all gonna how it was gonna work. We were committed to events. So I had a timeline that I had to stick to, and I couldn't get a used trailer. Everyone I found that had one was just being a pain to work with. So I bought one new, and it ran me about 6 grand. I'm glad I did because it's just been one less thing I had to worry about. I had 6 grand in the trailer. I started with 6 machines, two excavators, two front loaders, and two dump trucks. The dump trucks were a real disappointment. Luckily, they were only like 250, so 500 for the two of them because both of them did not work in the
Mhm.
sand in the pit the way we had it designed. So I ended up using one as a giveaway, and then we have one we saved for the store. And so the excavators are about 500 a piece, and the front loaders are about four, and then the dump trucks are about three. And then I
Okay.
spent another maybe 2 grand on 4 wheel drive vehicles and other marketing stuff like that to get ready. But to your point, I didn't spend anything on the website. I mean, I spent Replit fees, so maybe 200
Sure.
bucks on the website, on all the back end stuff.
What will your startup cost be for the store?
18, I took on some of the renovations because I can do them myself to save cost. And in turn, I got 50% reduction on the first 4 months of rent. And my rent's real cheap. One of the reasons we went in on this place is because, again, hedging my bets. If I don't make a dime, I can afford it with my W 2. If it turns into a clubhouse, it turns into a clubhouse.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will. We have a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz. The city has reached out to us directly just because of our social media stuff to say, hey, how can we help you? Which is really cool.
How much research have you done on the competing stores? And I assume there aren't any in your area, so you're not competing with them directly, but other people that have done this in the Middle East or in the US, do you know, like, what the ceiling is as far as, like, a per store per year profit?
No, I've run the numbers on my store, and I know what other people doing similar things. So the main companies kind of doing this, there's a cafe in the UK who I think has a nice setup. There's a place in Taiwan. There's a place called Diggers Cafe that just opened in Canada that's doing some really nice marketing. They even have a jingle, like an old school radio jingle that goes along with it. So they've got a really nice setup, but they've spent some money. Whatever they do, whoever they've got some investors, or they took out some money too because they built a really nice store. I think our store is going to be really nice. It's just a little bit smaller, and we're not really doing a cafe because we didn't want to get into, all the food service. So we're going to have coffee and stuff that we can sell that's not refrigerated, so baked goods, things like that. So,
What do you expect to do, like, both first year and, like, as a ceiling? Like, what is your max capacity as far as annual profit is concerned with one location?
but you should have known better. This is like a Shark Tank moment where I don't have my numbers right. I ran models based on the total number of sessions I can run at any given period of time based on the amount of hours I'm open at any given time.
Mhm,
Right. So I think it was at like 12% capacity, I break even on all of my costs involved in running the store. And then anything
mhm.
above that is obviously profit.
And what is your rent on this place per month?
$1,000.
Oh, that's nothing.
I know. And it's in a
It's
great area. My neighbor is the mayor who owns a really sort of not high end, but like one of those brunch places that all everybody likes to go to. So every day, all morning, that place is packed.
Is this in Erlanger? How do you pronounce it?
Erlanger, yeah.
Erlanger. And there's only 20,000 people there. That's a small
Erlanger is like
town.
a little strip in between everything else. It's Boone County and Kenton County. So we're suburbs of Cincinnati, basically.
Mhm.
There's no shortage of people, that's for sure. But Erlanger is a smaller town, which is one of the things I like because the city's really into us being there. They have a grant. They're out of money for 25, but their fiscal year restarts in July. And so in July, I'm going to get back 50% of whatever I spend on my build out, which is
Wow.
really nice. So that was a big part of it.
What do you plan to do with the trailer? Are you repurposing any of the stuff you have, or do you wanna leave that as, like, a standalone business so you can still do events and not have to borrow from the trailer, like equipment?
We're still keeping the trailer. The plan is to still do all the public events for now, just to keep costs down, using all the same machines to get the store open. But then very quickly, I'm going to have to buy some more to run both because we'll have an event pretty soon after the store opens.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
I am always hunting for ways to help you start businesses and make more money. That's literally why I do this. So, let me tell you about something that saves me hours every single week. Most business owners are drowning in subscriptions. They've got one tool for emails, one tool for leads, they've got funnels, booking, and that's not running a business. That's babysitting software. High Level kills all of that. High Level is one platform: emails, CRM, funnels, scheduling, automations. All of it is built in, and the time you save is time that you can spend actually making money. Plus, it has this missed call text back feature that automatically text leads when you can't answer the phone. And if you ever want to white label it to resell it as your own software to clients, you can do that too. Recurring revenue built right in. It'll change the way you think about business. So check out gohighlevel.com/TKO pod, and they will give you a 30-day free trial to see what I mean. What is, like, the grand ambition? Do you want more locations? Do you want to franchise this?
I want to franchise it. So that's the plan. If I can prove that it works, I think I've built everything else out to be highly franchisable. I've worked through all the problems, so to speak. I think the branding's pretty strong on it. Like you said, the software and the being able to manage your business right off the bat without any
Mhm.
investment is a big part of it. So yeah, I think the key for me is proving that it works. I think it works in a mobile model. It's just for me, it's a slog. It's a
Yeah.
lot, dragging that thing around, setting it up, going to a fair in 5 days a week at night.
Yeah.
So if it's all you're doing, sure, but it's not all. And
But what a good way to prove the demand first
yeah,
with
yeah, sure.
$6,000
Yeah.
or 10,000. How many days per week are you gonna be open?
So the plan right now is 7 because we don't
Okay.
know. We're very fortunate in that way. Both my wife and I, when I'm not traveling, we're work from home people. So, we'll take my daughter to school and then just go to the office, so to speak, and have the store open until we kind of figure out what it looks like. And then very quickly we want to hire somebody to fill in a lot of the hours or we'll drown in it.
And how many hours per day?
Plan is to be open from
Oh.
10 to 8 right now.
Okay. So ten hours.
Yeah, 10 hours.
So 70 hours a week. And then how many, I know all of this is subject to change, right? But
Mhm.
how many customers would be able to serve at once? If it's 10 on the trailer, what do you expect in the store?
I have a max of probably 17 active sessions
Okay.
at one time
Okay.
because we'll have two different zones. So you'll have most of that activity will be split up between both. So the plan is to have 4 excavators, 2 dump trucks, another crane, and 2 front loaders in the construction site, and then another fleet of 6 or 7 4x4 vehicles for the mountain.
Let's say, optimistically, you're just slammed, you're busy. What will your, manpower look like that day? How many people would you have on the clock?
I think you need two if you're full busy because there's really not much to do. You need someone manning the counter, and then without having so in this setup in the store, all the 4x4 stuff is going to be the person using it standing right next to it, so they're going to be able to turn the machine over. So all that's gone. In the
Mhm.
construction pit, there's none of that. So it's very hands off, except for every hour of use, you have to change the battery. Most of these machines, you'll get about an hour, not on the clock, on use. So depending on how much if you're using them full time, you're switching out batteries every hour. So
So
that's about it. There's so far. I mean, I don't know what I don't know yet, but from what's going on at the events, that's the best I can tell you. Is I think two would be more than enough to handle. Because it's 1,000 square foot store, so it's not
yeah.
huge. So there's
Mhm.
not a lot of space to cover. You just need someone to handle the sessions and hand out the remotes because the idea is, you're on the clock, you can use any of the machines. Same with the trailer. When you're on the clock, I can use any of the machines for as long as I want. And I can trade you the remote at any point in time.
Okay. So, let's just say now humor me for a minute because I know
Mhm.
this isn't realistic, but I'm trying to get an idea of, like, what the absolute best case scenario is, right? What does sold out 24/7 look like? So, if you're
Yeah,
open
I'm
7.
really mad, but I don't have those numbers.
No, it's alright. Let's tell me how BS these numbers are or not. So, you're open 70 hours a week, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and of course, you might change that as your demand, comes and goes, whatever. 70 hours a week, 17 at a time is $1 per minute, so that's max potential if you are fully sold out of $17 per minute. So that is, 600 minutes per day,
Mhm.
right? 600 minutes times 10 hours, 60 minutes
Yep.
of 10 hours, 600 minutes per day times $17 per minute, you're looking at $10,000 for a day. Right? Do I have that right? 10 hours, yeah, six. Yeah. So if let's
Yeah.
just say from the second you open to the second you close, you are at full max capacity, which probably, well, hopefully will happen one day, but probably won't for a while, right? That could be a $10,000 day. And your
Yeah.
overhead on that for like your insurance, your AC, your employees is like 100. No, sorry. The employees would be like, let's call it $50 an hour, including payroll taxes times 10 hours. It's $500 a day. The rent is like $100 a day. So let's just say, very conservatively, your overhead is $1,000 a day. Really more like $600 or $700 a day. So
Right.
theoretically, obviously, the busier you are, the more profitable you are because it's economies of scale. I mean, this could be 9,000 a day, 8, 7,000 a day in gross profit if you were like fully max capacity, which you know what I'm saying. So let's just say you're 20% quote unquote occupied, take out your cost. That could be $300,000 a year of profit.
When I ran the numbers, it was kind of one of those moments where if I even got to 50% capacity, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a home run. So, because even at 50%, the numbers were like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Because you get to multiply it, you're stacking that effect because you can run so many machines. Again, because I took this path, I got to meet the community. I mean, I had a meeting yesterday with a guy who I met through the community, and we finally met in person. He runs an organization for veterans that helps them, kind of get back and reacclimated through RC because a lot of these guys get outdoors and stuff like that. So we're going to work together on some partnerships. There's a huge community of guys who use these RC vehicles of our age, right? One of the cool places I didn't mention this before. One of the cool things about the spot I got is there's this probably half an acre to 3/4 of an acre piece of property behind it that's unused. And so this
Oh,
summer, I'm going to turn it into an outdoor course that will have an outdoor
heck
crawler
yeah.
course and a fast lap course because it'll just be extra revenue.
That's
Because
awesome.
we're going to let people bring their own machines too. So we'll have pricing for rentals and then pricing for just to use our
Yeah.
setup.
From the time it took you to get your first job to pay off your startup cost to get to break even, how long was that?
Most of the summer, 8 months, 6, 7, 8 months. It was,
Okay.
it was kind of I should say summer, most of the year, right? Because fall was a huge time for us. We did a lot of fall events, and those were pretty popular, which was surprising to me because I didn't think with the weather people would stand around, but they still did.
That's
I've
amazing.
been
And
surprised every turn. So
all while you were working a full-time job.
mm,
I mean, mostly.
yeah, 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 mostly.
That's incredible. Derek is wondering if you could talk through the functionality of the app a little more. He said, is it just scheduling or what else is is going on there?
So it's tracking all the sessions. This is the new version I'm working on for the store. So, but this is the dashboard, and this is sort of just what's happened through my testing. So this is not the stuff I use live, but you can see here I have a POS system. I put in a customer's name because everybody will have an account. I have different sessions and different items that they can sell right from the tablet. You schedule their session for either now or another time. And you can check out pretty quickly. Sorry, I don't want to waste a lot of time on the button pushes. But then, it tracks and shows all the sessions that you've had, all the completed sessions, all sessions, right? So I have control over any of them. I can extend sessions or cancel them that are upcoming. I have full, control over everything. And then it just tracks everything else. It tracks my inventory, my events, my event requests. So any event requests that come in are organized, and I can track what stage I'm in with them. It runs my newsletter, so I can come in here. I have all my newsletter subscribers, and I can
Wow.
compose and send my newsletter and schedule it at different times.
That's crazy.
Go out. Yeah,
You
did
built a
this all in
little
Replit.
mini beehive inside your Can You Dig It app.
Yeah, so so much of this is my own lack of knowledge around what's available. So with Replit, even in the real world, like I'm always just like, let's build it, even if it's physical. So now with Replit, it's like, just let's build it. Why mess around? So I built it all. It tracks all my inventory, it tracks my financials. I can sell gift cards and memberships. It tracks all of it.
Jeez Louise. That's crazy. Are you using like SendGrid or Twilio or
I use
what's it built
SendGrid
on?
for my email.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you have any prompting tips for us on building something awesome like this?
Patience, patience, and it's gotten so much better now. In Replit, anyways, they have a feature where you can turn it off of build mode and put it in plan mode, so you can kind of talk through everything and then tell it to build, which is really nice. But yeah, this is a lot of my hours just sitting here testing it, telling it to fix this, testing it, telling it to add this. And then through that process, I think it just gets better because the more you use it, the more you're going, oh, I could do this. I should do this, or, it needs to do this, so,
Oh
uh,
man.
I built it to franchise, and I'm trying to make it as easy as possible because if I can prove that it's profitable, I think it is. I mean, the market that I'm finding, the people that are interested in this stuff, I think it's going to blow up. That's my personal belief.
Yeah.
Might be a little builder's delusion, but I've not found a shortage of people so far that are willing
Well,
to pay for it.
I'm sure you've thought about this, but I think it can't be overstated how important it is that we get kids doing stuff like this. Like you're planting seeds that will germinate when they're older. Like we need people in the trades. We need people wanting to do stuff like this when they're older,
Yep.
whether via remote, with AI or whatever it is, or whether they're in the machine themselves. Like
Yep.
if kids would never want to do this when they grow up if they never had this opportunity to do it as a kid. And you're
I agree.
helping enable that.
I agree. So we're looking
Um,
forward to it. Any other questions?
Leonard was asking if you're thinking about getting people to sponsor you, like if you're looking at that for monetizing.
So an interesting question was asked on one of my social media posts. Somebody asked, I posted about the mountain, the crawler thing we're going to have. It's going to be a big 30-foot setup, so it's going to be pretty impressive. And it's made by this company called Mountain Blocks that I've been working with, and I'm now an affiliate with them. And there's some of that. But he asked if we were going to host any competitions, which I didn't even know was a thing, but now I do. And so there might be some stuff there, but honestly, I don't know what I don't know there. But yes, we are planning on hosting some competitions, which I think will lead to some of that stuff.
I love it. Well,
Our recurring revenue right now, our plan for it is memberships. We're really
okay.
hoping to sell a lot of memberships. So the idea behind the membership is we're going to have two types of memberships. One's just a really basic one where you get discounts on all your other sessions, but you get one free session a month. And
Mhm.
then the other one's an unlimited one where you get one free session every day. So I'm hoping to
That's cool.
bring in some business that way.
That's incredible. I'm like one of DFW's top participants on this place called Activate Games. Have you heard of
Okay.
them?
Yeah, there's one near us. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got, I don't know, 100 locations. There's one in Plano, and I probably took my kids and or wife there like 30 times in 2025, and they have a leaderboard, and every time I go, I'm like, I keep crawling up it, and I got an email yesterday that was like, "You've been asked to participate in the Activate Games World Championship." I'm like, "I'm such a loser." But every time I go there, I think 2 things. What an incredible business model, because there's like
Right.
2 employees manning it. And then the second thing I think is this must have cost $1,000,000 to build out. Like,
It's
there's
funny
so
to
much going on there. And this
it's
doesn't.
funny to hear even you say something like, joke about what a loser, because I laugh and I would say that, too, kind of jokingly. But now my brain has been so conditioned with the community and what's going on in the world. I just go, you know what? In 5 years, there's going to be some Activate League where like
Yeah.
people are getting paid a ton of money to
Oh, I'm
compete
sure.
in that, right?
It's so fun, and it's a good
Yeah.
workout too.
Uh-huh. Yeah. They have a similar kind of setup at the Dave and Buster's right down the street where it's like
Okay.
interactive like that. Thanks
You're
everyone
awesome,
for
Tim.
listening.
Thank you for telling us. That's
Sure.
incredible. That was the highlight of my week.
And if anybody
Um,
has any questions, they can get in touch with me through the website or our social medias. I can dig it RC.
Thank you, Tim. Danny, you there?
I'm here, man. And good
Danny.
stuff, Tim. Not a question, but just you're seeing a lot of trends in people that are getting out of the social media life and trying to do more in-person events and activities and outdoors. And so whether it's RC or something outdoors, you're seeing that trend play a big part in people's lives right now. Teenagers especially, which is crazy because you wouldn't think that, but they know how insane depression is with a lot of our millennials out there, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna skip the social media stuff and start
Yep.
outdoor stuff. So good trend,
Yeah,
man.
Going
it's
offline.
just a quick point. It's interesting you say that because last night we got the mock-ups back for our store sign, and it looked great. There was just something missing from it, and my wife and I were discussing it, and it just said it said what we do, but it didn't explain. Like we needed one more word, and we just added experience. So it says
Yeah,
RC construction and rock crawling experience, and I think just that one word in today's economy will mean
it
people
is.
will know that this is a place I can come and do something. So,
I hope this video is as much of a banger for you as it is for me. Join us at TK Owners. Share this with a friend. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Koerner Office.